Hey guys, it's Toyhouze here with another video. With Naxxramas, the Dread Citadel, coming out in Phase 6, we're going to experience a huge jump in power with the new gear.
It's over 9,000!
Today, we're going to take a look at some of the best in-slot pieces for all of the classes, minus the class-specific tier gear. So, we can take a look at the items that will be the most competitive, aka the stuff we'll probably never get. If that sounds good to you, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So first up is the Band of the Inevitable, also known as the Band of the Inevitably Getting Ninja'd by a Hunter. This ring has the much coveted spell hit for warlocks and 36 damage and healing. A beastly ring that drops off Noth the Plaguebringer and is best in slot for, no, not you hunters, just warlocks. Next up is the Restrained Essence of Saffron, otherwise known as the Restrained Rage of 1000 Saffron kills and How Do I Still Not Have It, with 40 spell damage and healing on equip and a use effect for 130 more for 20 seconds. This trinket is so good, it's literally the most compelling argument we have that God exists. So watch out for Phase 6, atheists. It's best in slot for balanced druids, as if they exist, mages, shadow priests, and warlocks. Next up is the Kiss of the Spider. This trinket is obscenely strong. It's best in slot for rogues, but honestly, it's still amazing for really any physical damage dealing class. It does stack with other attack speed increasing abilities like Slice and Dice and Blade Flurry. Each increase is applied after the other, though, so you don't just add all the speed increases together. So you get a 20% increase from the trinket, then a 30% increase from that new number, and then when you apply Slice and Dice, then another 20% from that last number when you applied Blade Fury. So you'd reduce a 2-second attack speed weapon to 1.07 after applying Kiss of the Spider, Slice and Dice, and Blade Flurry all on top of each other. And if you're a troll rogue, you could even get faster attack speed with berserking. That's pretty insane. Just as insane as Slayer's Crest, this trinket has an equip to add 64 attack power and a use effect for another 64 attack power on a 2-minute cooldown. When using this trinket, your character will glow red as if enraged while active. Kind of reminiscent of like raging from steroids or something, because basically with that much attack power, that's what's going to be happening. This trinket is easily best in slot for fury warriors, feral druids, hunters, and rogues, so it's going to be a tough one to get. Next up is Band of Unnatural Forces, otherwise known as Ring with Unnaturally Good Stats. This beastly ring drops off Lotheb in the Plague Wing of Naxxramas. This ring is pretty amazing. It has crit, hit, and attack power. Easily it's best in slot for rogues, fury warriors, feral druids, for that reason. But it's actually not best in slot for hunters, surprise, surprise. I'll be getting onto why later on, but you won't want to miss that. It's a secret. Another jaw-dropping piece of Naxxramas gear is the Shroud of Dominion. This cloak has crit, which is actually rare for a cloak, and also loaded with plus 50 attack power. Ret, fury, feral, hunters, and rogues will all be competing for this cloak. So it's going to be really hard to get. And in addition to that, it's going to be hard because it drops off Saffron, again, the second to last boss in Nax, which is only accessible after clearing all wings of Nax. So moving away from some of that DPS gear, moving over to some tanking gear, we have the Crypt Fiend Silk Cloak. This insane cloak drops off a new Brakan. Of course, this is ideal for your warrior tank, but it would also make sense for druid tanks and protection paladins. The hit is a great stat for holding aggro and generating rage if you're a warrior or a druid, and dodge is helpful for obvious reasons. Now, the plus 7 defense will help prevent physical damage by reducing the chance to be hit or critically hit. And for those of you who aren't familiar, which I'm sure almost everyone is, but maybe the non-tanks don't know, every point of defense gives 0.04% dodge, parry, block, and a reduced chance to be hit by that same amount, and a reduced chance to be crit. At 300 defense, you still have a chance of being critically hit/crushed against boss level mobs. That means level 63. Tanks need to increase their defense rating to avoid this. Now at level 60, you need 440 defense rating to avoid being critically hit by level 63 mobs. This requires a fully leveled 300 innate defense and an additional 140 defense rating from gear. So this cloak helps you get where you need to be. Alright, moving away from all that nonsense. Hope I didn't lose too many of you there. Next up, we have a really interesting item. This item is unlike any other. This item is the Hungering Cold. This sword was used as the Sword of 1000 Truths in the 10th season premiere episode of Comedy Central's South Park cartoon that aired on October 4th, 2006.
What about the Sword of 1000 Truths?
Quiet, Thomas. We aren't to even speak of that sword. I've been sent here to bring you this.
Man, it's been a while. Also, the Hungering Cold is one of 4 pre-Burning Crusade one-handers that breaks 70 DPS. The Hungering Cold, King's Fall, Gressel, and Claw of the Frostworm are the only other one-handers that can boast this. This item drops off the last boss of Naxxramas, Kel'Thuzad, one of my favorite characters in all of Warcraft lore. It's best in slot for Fury and Prot Warriors and Sword Rogues, although we can't trust the sword to a noob. By the way, a quick note about weapon skill for those who aren't aware. Maybe spellcasters don't know this. Each point of weapon skill provides 0.04% increase to critical strike chance and hit chance. It will also reduce the chance for mobs to dodge, parry, or block your attacks by that same amount, 0.04%. And for damage dealing specializations, where this is important, weapon skill is used to avoid glancing blows. Now, glancing blows can happen when fighting enemies at a higher level than yours, such as level 63 bosses, and an attack resulting in a glancing blow will deal less damage to your enemy. Now, you can't diminish the chances of a glancing blow, and 40% of all white hits on level 63 bosses will be glancing blows, but you can mitigate how much damage you lose per glancing blow with weapon skill. Alright, I know, getting a little complicated there, but let's move on to the next item, the Face of Death. Generally speaking, this is the best shield in the freaking game for tanks. This shield drops off Saffron. It's certainly an upgrade from the Blessed Karaji Bulwark, but not by a lot, which some are actually quite disappointed because it's kind of lacking on stats compared to the crazy power spike of the other gear we're talking about. Now, comparing to the Blessed Karaji Bulwark to the Face of Death, you're going to end up gaining 530 armor, 17 block value, and only 1 stamina. That's 10 health. You lose 8 defense, which gives 0.32% dodge, parry, block, reduced chance to be hit, reduced chance to be crit, as we talked about before. But it is an upgrade. All right, moving on beyond the Face of Death, the most disappointing item out of all of these. The Plated Abomination Ribcage is best in slot for Fury Warriors and drops off Thaddeus. And frankly, this thing blows every other plate DPS chest in the game out of the freaking water. It's got crit, hit, strength, and stam. I mean, this really covers all of your bases. You might see Retribution Paladins running around with this, but honestly, Avenger's Breastplate is better for Ret Paladins. So if it comes down to it, and you're a warrior rolling on this against a Ret Paladin, you should let them know Avengers is definitely better. All right, moving on to a bracer, we're going to look at Riskard's of Vengeance. Now, unlike the last item we talked about, this is perfect for both Arms Warriors and Red Paladins, so feel free to share the love. This drops off a Nubricon in Naxxramas and has Strength, Stam, and Crit. Reading about this item showed that there was actually a lot of argument between who should get these, the DPS Warriors or the Ret Paladins. Obviously, both are good, and we now know years later that Retribution Paladins actually aren't even really the ideal spec for raiding in a classic WoW, but it's cool to look back and see how they were kind of part of the conversation back then. All right, moving on to one-handed weapons, or I should say back to them. We have the awe-inspiring Gressel, Dawn of Ruin. This item drops from the infamous Kel'Thuzad and boasts 15 stamina and 40 attack power. Like the Hungering Cold, King's Fall, and Claw of the Frostworm like we talked about, these are the only one-handers that surpass 70 damage per second pre-TBC. This is the best non-dagger weapon for rogues and also the best for Fury Warriors. Really interestingly, back in the day, there was actually a lot of speculation and rumors and overall confusion while Naxx was still in its beta phases, all the way up to when the first one dropped live. It was largely believed that when the sword first hit live, it was renamed to the Hungering Cold, while in reality there are 2 sword drops, as we now know. But many melee were extremely upset over the possibility of it being nerfed to the Hungering Cold. So a little bit of information there for you. All right, moving on to Cloak of the Necropolis. Now this will be best in slot for balanced druids, paladin healers, mages, and warlocks. It is a beast, scoring 26 damage and healing, 1% spell crit, and 1% spell hit, along with some intelligence and stamina. Drops off Saffron. It's also one of the few cloaks in the game that has both spell crit and spell hit. And with this being phase 6 and all, we can pretty much say that this cloak is the best freaking cloak in the game for spellcasters. Now, obviously, if you're paying attention, which I hope you are, I did say paladin healers. And obviously, the 1% spell hit doesn't help the paladin healer, the holy paladin. But the crit does help paladin healers more than the other healer classes, which would go for the other healing cloak, Cloak of Searching, which offers more healing done by spells and effects, and 5 MP5. But we're going to get to that one later. Paladins just benefit more from that crit than the other healers. So that's why it's good for them too. It's actually best in slot for them. All right, Leggings of Polarity. Now, if you're familiar with the Thaddeus fight, then I'm sure you already know that these leggings drop off Thaddeus. These leggings are the only leggings with 2% crit on them and are ridiculous for warlocks because of the ruin talent. Also for fire mages, especially those who spam Scorch and stack ignites. No, Hunter, Arcane Shot is not a spell. This is not best in slot legs for you to crit with your Arcane Shot. Okay, moving on. Next up is the Wand of Fates, another warlock best in slot item because of the much needed hit rating. If you're familiar, warlocks had to roll around with Bloodvine for quite a bit because of the hit rating. This wand drops off Patchwork, and it's going to do some work on getting that hit rating up. All right, moving on to another weapon, we have the Wraith Blade. Now, this is best in slot for Warlock and Mage, and actually has the same icon as Devastate, the Protection Warrior ability. It's got a nice 1% crit and 1% hit, which is just delicious. It drops off Myaxna in the Spider Wing. Now let's compare Wraith Blade and Saffron's Left Eye versus Soulseeker, another item. Now, the Wraith Blade and Saffron's Left Eye reach a total of 121 plus damage, 2% hit and 2% crit, 22 stamina, and 16 intellect, while the Soulseeker reaches a total of 126 plus damage, 2% crit, and 25 decrease of magical resistance. Yummy. 30 stamina and 31 intellect. The decrease in magical resistance is basically not needed in endgame rating, and in PvP it's quite useless as well. The only plus damage is only 5 more, and Soulseeker has a total of 8 stamina and 15 intelligence more. To get the full 99% hit with spells, because you can't get more than 99% in Classic, you'll need at least 16% hit for bosses. As few people have 16% hit, the Wraith Blade plus Saffron offhand is actually better than Soulseeker. Due to the 2% hit, it gives the total plus damage going... Your DPS is basically going to be higher than Soulseeker. Alright, awesome. Speaking of Saffron's Left Eye, it is also BIS offhand for Balanced Druid, Mage, Shadow Priest. I don't even know why I include Balanced Druid. Is anyone even playing Balanced Druid? And Warlock. It is basically the best offhand weapon in the entire game of World of Warcraft Classic for DPS casters. Fun fact, Saffron's Right Eye is also an offhand item, but with plus healing and MP5. And actually, believe it or not, it's also best in slot for Resto Shaman, Priest, and Druids. Okay guys, now this list would not be complete without this item. This item is the Corrupted Ashbringer. The Corrupted Ashbringer has a long and dark past, and actually a bright future past Classic WoW. Now I won't get into the history because that would be a gigantic, very long video in itself. But what is amazing about this item is that when you equip it, certain things start happening. 1, you become hated by the Argent Dawn, and become friendly with the Scarlet Crusade. So make sure not to fly into Light's Hope with this equipped, or you're going to get bum rushed and probably killed. If you take it off though, they'll stop trying to kill you. Also, when you go into Scarlet Stratholme, you'll see a cutscene from its lore. Not a cutscene, but you'll see some characters interact on your screen. While equipped, you'll also hear eerie whispers while the item is equipped. Things like, "Kill them all," and "I was pure once." Super creepy stuff. And believe it or not, guys, there's like 15 more items that are all just as good as the stuff I've gone through today. Naxx has a ton of amazing gear to offer, and if you have what it takes to clear its bosses, then that loot shall be yours. Now guys, if you like this video, let me know with a like, and if you want more videos like it, then don't forget to subscribe, because you don't want to miss the next one. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.